excited. How many of you would like a transformation? Heck yeah. And how many of you have also been through some challenging things? Yeah? Me too. After a disastrous short-term move to Michigan and then back to Oregon, I found out I was unexpectedly pregnant with now who we know as Little York. About 13 weeks into that pregnancy, I got an 18-inch blood clot from my knee into my uterus. I couldn't even sit. I had to have my legs elevated, and it was extremely painful. Dang, that thing hurt. And about 20 weeks into my pregnancy, the doctors told me that York would likely pass away. He kept persisting. I think he's a future book kid and coach. He kept persisting, but he was born incredibly early. He was born 12 weeks early and 1 pound, 4 ounces. Now, to give you a sense of scale, I can joke about this now, but I've eaten burritos bigger than that. He was born 1 pound, 4 ounces. It is tiny. And he spent 3.5 months in the NICU, many, many ups and downs there. And when he finally did come home, he came home on oxygen. We had a tube that followed us around the house with him. And he came home 100% tube fed. Does anyone know anyone who's tube fed? 100% G-tube fed, ate nothing by mouth, still eats nothing by mouth. But on top of that, we didn't know it. He had a list of food allergies as long as my arm that still weren't diagnosed. So the poor kid was vomiting every single day, multiple times a day, constantly. So much vomit, so much laundry. So 2018 rolls around, October. My husband and I were about to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. And we wanted a trip. We needed a trip, but we couldn't very well leave York with anyone. So we decided as a family that we would go to the happiest place on earth, Orlando. We went to Disney World. Still so much vomit, still so much laundry. But about halfway through that trip, my husband gets a phone call from one of his key employees, someone he's trusted to run his business over the last 1.5 years while we're dealing with all this stuff. And he gets a phone call that he wasn't expecting. This person tells my husband that they've screwed up big time. And actually, they've been screwing up for months and months and months. And because my husband was a little bit disconnected from the business, he didn't catch it. And now clients are pissed. And everybody's pointing fingers. And guess what? It's so far gone now, there is nothing he can do to fix it. The business is gone. Happy anniversary, baby. Right? So we have been through some stuff. Actually, I have a photo, a real picture from those years. And it was the toughest time of my life. And I know that every single one of you has either been through some stuff just like this, or you will go through some stuff, or both. There is just no other way through life. Truth? No other way through life. So we've got a couple options. We can let it sink us and break us and crush our dreams and take us off focus, or we can transform. And if I know anything about the character and the caliber of every single person in this room, we're going to choose the latter, aren't we? Oh, yeah. So let me share with you for the next 11 or so minutes some of the things that have helped me experience what feels like a transformation this campaign. It all started about 1 year ago. I went to, it's the best picture I could find. I went to Ron, and I was broken and frustrated and defeated. And I just said, Ron, I am so freaking sick of helping all of my clients see these massive results and double their income and break through these belief barriers. And then I sit in on the TP calls and I hear all the ways that we're changing everybody else's life. And here I am, and I can't do it for myself. I cannot figure out how to figure it out. I am lost. I don't know what I'm doing. And some of you I know can relate. You don't need to raise your hands, but I know some of you can relate. Ron, in his brilliance and wisdom, picked me back up, reminded me it would be okay, and then said he had an idea. So to make a long story short, I started doing PCs with Dana, the amazing, brilliant Dana. And the same thing, I went to her and I said, Dana, please treat me like a client. Please treat me like a client who's in front of you or on the phone with you or at a workshop with you, and they just said, my business is in the toilet. I am not anywhere near where I want to be. I am not anywhere near where I feel like I could and should be. And I need help because I don't know how to figure this out. I feel like a sucky loser. And what was so amazing about Dana is firstly, she said, you're not. I needed to hear that. I needed to hear, you're not. But in that moment, she helped me recognize that what I had bought into was a whole bunch of lies. I had bought into a whole bunch of lies that I was a zero workshop closer, that I was too fat to be taken seriously, that I wasn't successful enough to help other people succeed, and that I needed to be perfect in order to be successful. And so with that, as I was complaining and frustrated and venting and, telling her just, man, I just can't even do workshops because I suck so much at them, she reminded me that I had the tools. She reminded me that I have the tools, that we have the tools, that you have the tools. That you have the tools. And so with that, we went to work on my belief. We went to work on my belief, and the first belief that she helped me correct was that my workshop didn't suck. Yes, it needed help. I know we talked about that yesterday. It needed help, but it didn't suck. She helped me find other truths, like my biggest test is my biggest testament, and that I'm grateful for the struggles because they help me to grow, and they help me to help more people, and they give me an authentic view of how to overcome. That in every workshop, I know y'all believe this, in every workshop, if there's someone sitting in front of you and they said, yes, I have the will and I have the desire to change, and they're willing to put those habits and those activity levels into place, do we know they'll become a top producer? Yes, we know that. I am that person. You are that person. I know that I have more than enough time and energy for the things that are important to me. I know that in due season I will reap if I do not grow weary and I do not give up. I know that I'm resilient. And I know to seek progress and not perfection. That I believe in the power of persistence because I am persistent. And that my habits create the life of my dreams. And today and every day, I will reinforce the habits that make me the person I want to become. And guess what, y'all? As I started saying those things, I started to believe them. I started to finally believe them. So then we got to work on my activity. You saw my unicorn slide. Unicorns are, in fact, magical. This, however, is not. This is the basics, y'all. Our activity. Where is our activity coming up short? Where was my activity coming up short? And it wasn't enough to assume. I had made up all these stories in my head. It wasn't enough to assume. We had to analyze my activity, and we found two things. Firstly, these two areas, workshops run in CPM, were coming up tremendously short, tremendously short. In fact, in my workshops run, after a little analysis, we discovered I ran 11 workshops in the previous campaign. For 99% of us in this room, that is not enough to get us there. That is not enough to get us where we want and need to go and where we're capable of going. Absolutely true for me. So we had to get to work on that activity. If your activity is coming up short, if your numbers don't look the way you want them to be, there are two reasons. We either need to do more or we need to do better. And that was the case with my CPM. My lives changed per workshop. What we discovered is, yes, I needed that number to be more, but it wasn't about doing more in the case of my CPM. It was about doing it better. And again, we analyzed, we looked, where did I need to get better? And in that analysis, we found that there were some gaping holes in my boss work. That's a critical part of our sales cycle, y'all, and there were some massive holes there. There were some massive holes, just some areas that I was missing out on. Skipped, forgot, never learned in the first place. So if your activity is coming up short, when my activity is coming up short, where do we need to do more and where do we need to do it better? After we took care of activity, or started to take care of activity, I promise you there's still more work to be done, we had to look at where that execution piece came in, where that better piece was going to come from. And so I referenced my boss work. Just to give you an idea of how terrible my CPM was, when the company average was 2, mine was 0.25. 0.25. For those of you not math wizards in this group, that's 1/8 the company average. That is, for every 4 workshops run, 3 of them are 0 workshops. It was abysmal. It was frustrating. It was awful. But the coolest part when you recognize that is what? We can get to work on that, right? We have the tools, don't we? We have the tools, and so we got to work on it. That led me to listening to everything I could get my hands on the LMS. Where's Bob Moses? Oh my gosh, your VCS. Who has listened to the VCS with Bob Moses? The guy cuts his hand and the dogs are in the window. You know what I'm talking about? What a gem that fella is. Fantastic. And where's Linsmeyer? I know you're in here. Every workshop I drive to them all, by the way. Every workshop I drive to, Linsmeyer's Boss Talk is playing as I head up there. Just to remind me of the things I don't want to forget, just to hear it said by someone else and go, oh yeah, that's the script, and it's kind of easy to do. It also led me to making checklists and cheat sheets and all these things to kind of help me compartmentalize it and memorize it in my own way. And it also led me to dialing more. Where's Yvette? Yvette is my buddy. Man, iron sharpens iron, doesn't it? Iron sharpens iron. And we are a sharp crew. We have all the tools, either on the LMS or right here in this room. I promise you, if you are looking for a transformation, it is in these 3 things. It is in these 3 things right here. The formula might look a little different for each of us, but if we assess our belief, where is it coming up short? Where is it not serving us? And get to work on that. If we analyze our activity and do the numbers, is it enough to get us where we need to go? Is it at least at company average levels? If not, don't feel crappy about it like I did. Don't bury your head in the sand. Do something about it. Do something about it. Either do more or figure out where you need to do it better and refine that execution. Y'all, we have to take back our belief in what's possible. We have to take back our ownership of controlling the controllables, and we have to take back this refined focus on executing and how we execute. And if you do those things, folks, I promise you, you will have a transformation this campaign. Aren't we due for a transformation this campaign? Are you ready to own it?